Hello friends. Good morning, good afternoon or good evening. Welcome back to our channel. 𝗟𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗀. Myself 𝗃𝗀, your friend and Prakash friend. Please subscribe my channel, like it and share it to your maximum friends circle or needy friends through your WhatsApp, Facebook or any social media. We shall learn about poem My Mother at 66. Summary and some important questions from this poem. From subject English. For class 12 students. You must learn this poem from your textbook. My Mother at 66. This poem was written by Kamala Das 1934. She was born in Malabar, Kerala. She is recognized as one of India's foremost poets. Her works are known for their originality, versatility and the indigenous flavor of the soil. Kamala Das has published many novels and short stories in English and Malayalam under the name 𝗦𝗃𝗃𝗀𝗃. Some of her works in English include the novel Alphabet of Lust 1977, a collection of short stories, Padmavati the Harlot and Other Stories 1992, in addition to 5 books of poetry. She is a sensitive writer who captures the complex subtleties of human relationships in lyrical idiom. My Mother at 66 is an example. Summary of this poem. Aging is an inescapable phase of every human's life. A person enters their childhood, experiences adolescence, when they are energetic and have so many dreams. Finally, every person approaches their old age and then they die. Relationships between people become much stronger in every phase of life. No one can't bear the separation from their loved ones, just because of aging. Firstly, when the author going to the Cochin airport with her mother, she looks at her carefully and presents before us her image. As she looks at her mother's soft and wish face, she gets stuck with the fear of losing her mother. Her mother with a sleepy face and open mouth is comparable to a corpse. Here, the author shows love and affection in a relationship between a mother and a daughter. The poet is hurt and sad and shifts her attention outside the car for driving out the undesirable feelings. She changes her bad mood. The scene from the window of the car is of rising life and energy. The fast sprinting green and huge trees alongside the cheerfully playing kids represent life, youth, and vitality. The poet here is remembering about her own childhood. In her childhood, her mother was young and beautiful. Whereas now her mother is surrounded by the fear of losing her life and that made her insecure and sad. She reaches the airport to take her flight. It shows departure and parting which makes her sad. As she said goodbye to her mother, the image of the old mother in the dusk of years strikes her. Here again, a simile is comparable with her mother with a late night moon of the winters. The light of the moon is an obstacle by the fog and haze as she appears older now. The poet is now feeling the pain of getting separated, because of leaving her mother. Her childhood fear of losing her loving mother now became so terrifying. Now her mother could die of old age any time unexpectedly. She is so sad that she starts crying slowly without control, but keeping a brave heart, she hides her tears, and starts smiling. Thus, she offers her farewell to her old mother, and keeps her hope of seeing her mother alive again. She says, "See you soon, Amma." She hides her tears and sorrow as she does not want to make a painful and emotional environment. Moreover, she doesn't want her mother to cry and shows her that she is enjoying her life. She expects her mother to be happy and enjoy her life, just like conclusion of My Mother at 66. To conclude, My Mother at 66 summary revolves around the beautiful relationship between the poet and her mother. The summary shows the theme of the advancing age of the mother of the author and the fear of separation. This apparently short poem touches upon the theme of a beautiful bond between the mother and the daughter. It shows how beautiful a relationship a mother and a daughter can have. Some important stanzas from this poem. Driving from my parents' home to Cochin last Friday morning, one saw my mother beside me. Dozed, open-mouthed, her face ashen like that of a corpse, and realized with pain that she was as old as she looked, but soon. Questions. A. Where was the poet driving to? Who was sitting beside her? B. What did the poet notice about her mother? C. Why was her mother's face looked like that of a corpse? D. Find words from the passage which mean sleep lightly, dead body, felt. Answers. A. The poet was driving from her parents' home to the Cochin airport. Her mother was sitting beside her. B. She noticed that her mother was dozing with her mouth open. C. Her mother's face looked pale, faded and lifeless like a dead body because she had grown old. D. Doze. Corpse. Realized. Next stanza. She looked but soon put that thought away, and looked out at young trees sprinting, the merry children spilling out of their homes. Questions. A. What did the poet realize? How did she feel? B. What did she do then? C. What did she notice in the world outside? D. Find words from the passage which mean running fast, happy, moving out. Answers. A. Her mother was lost somewhere else in thoughts. It pained her. B. The poet withdrew her thoughts from her mother and looked outside. C. The young trees growing outside went past, as if they were sprinting. Happy children were coming out of their houses. D. Sprinting, merry, spilling. Last stanza. But after the airport's security check, standing a few yards away, I looked again at her, wan, pale as a late winter's moved, and felt that old familiar ache, my childhood's fear, but all I said was, see you soon, Amma. All I did was smile and smile and smile. Questions. A. What did the poet do after the security check? B. Why did the poet compare her mother's face to a late winter's moon? C. What is her childhood fear? D. How do the parting words of the poet and her smile present a contrast to her real feelings? Answers. A. After the security check, the poet stood a few yards away from her mother and looked at her face again. B. The late winter moon lacks brightness as well as strength. The pale and colorless face of the mother resembles the late winter moon. C. The fear of aging and ultimate death/separation. D. The poet's parting words of assurance and her smiles present a stark contrast to the old familiar ache or childhood fear. Her words and smiles are a deliberate attempt to hide what is going on inside. Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon or good evening. Welcome back to our channel. 𝗵𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗃. Myself Potlu, your friend and Prakash friend. Please subscribe my channel, like it and share it to your maximum friends circle or needy friends through your WhatsApp, Facebook or any social media. We shall learn about poem, keeping quiet, summary and some important questions from this poem. From subject English. For class 12 students. You must learn this poem from your textbook. Keeping Quiet summary discusses peace, humanity, and brotherhood. This poem is by the author Pablo Neruda. The poem is explosive as well as quiet, at the same time. Neruda speaks of a world of wisdom in a calm fashion. Neruda believes that staunch activism is not the best way to get into the heart and minds of the masses. Consequently, the author speaks with much serenity. Furthermore, this serenity creates an aftermath of thought ripples in the minds of the reader. The poet wants the readers to take time out of their busy lives for retrospection and introspection. The poem is symbolic of stopping all activities and understanding the purpose of the world. Keeping Quiet appeals to the heart of the readers in contrast to the intellect. Through this poem, Neruda aims to get his readers thinking and pondering as opposed to intellectual stimulation. Summary of this poem. This poem emphasizes the importance of self-introspection and silence. Furthermore, these two can transform the life of an individual. Moreover, they can also transform the face of the earth. The poet says that self-introspection and silence do not take much time to look within. Any individual can do it and examine oneself. This is easy, and takes only as long as it will take someone to count to 12. During this time of introspection, self-examination, it is important for the individual to keep quiet. The individual must say nothing at all. Without silence and keeping quiet, self-introspection will not work. Silently introspecting will give the individual a strange feeling of unity and togetherness with all others. In the beginning, it will certainly feel a little strange. However, eventually, it has the power to bring us all together. This silence will be free from the annoying sounds of engines. Furthermore, this silence will also be free from the people rushing to get their work done. The author feels contentment while imagining the change that will take place in those moments. The men who have to deal with the pain while collecting salt will get a little relief. Even the people who desire war and destruction will put on clean clothes, and an opportunity to walk among their brothers. They will get to experience a life that is free of enmity and hatred. There will be a halt to their destructive and dangerous activities. Peace and tranquility will prevail everywhere once such harmful activities come to a stop, even if it is for a short time. The poet clarifies that his wish should not mean total inactivity. The poet only desires to interrupt the violent, cruel, and sad activities taking place all over. Some important stanzas from this poem and its solution. Now we will count to 12 and we will all keep still. Questions. A. Name the poem and the poet of these lines. B. Why does the poet ask us to count to 12? C. Why does the poet ask us to keep still? D. Find words from the passage which mean. Say number. Quiet and motionless. Answers. A. The name of the poem is Keeping Quiet. The name of the poet is Pablo Neruda. B. There are only 12 signs on the clock to measure hours. Therefore, the poet asks us to count till the clock measures these horns. C. Too much activity and rush has only brought misfortunes to mankind. Hence, it is better to be quiet and still. D. Count and still. Next stanza. For once on the face of the earth, let's not speak in any language, let's stop for 1 second. And not move our arms so much. Questions. A. Name the poem and the poet of these lines. B. Let's not speak in any language, says the poet. Why? C. What should we not do for a second? D. What do you understand by the face of the earth? Answers. A. The name of the poem is Keeping Quiet. The poet is Pablo Neruda. B. The people of the world have been indulging in wars and bloodsheds on minor excuses. If they keep quiet, they may not indulge in reasoning, disputes and quarrels. So, let them keep quiet and not speak in any language. This will ensure peace and prosperity. C. We should cease all activities for a second. Man has used his arms only to kill and destroy others. Therefore, let them not move their arms so much as to harm others. D. The expression the face of the earth refers to the various countries on the surface of the earth. Next stanza. It would be an exotic moment without rush, without engines, we would all be together. In a sudden strangeness. Questions. A. Name the poem and the poet of these lines. B. What will happen if there is no rush or running of engines? C. What sort of moment will it be? D. How would all of us feel at that moment? Answers. A. The name of the poem is Keeping Quiet. The poet is Pablo Neruda. B. There will be peace all around, if there is no rush or the sound of the running of engines and machines. C. It will be a very enticing and beautiful moment. D. All of us will enjoy the unusualness and sudden strangeness of that moment. Another stanza. Fishermen in the cold sea would not harm whales, and the man gathering salt would look at his hurt hands. Questions. A. What do fishermen usually do in the cold sea? B. What does the poet ask fishermen not to do? C. What has happened to the man gathering salt? D. What should the man gathering salt do? Answers. A. Fishermen usually catch fish, particularly whales, in the cold seas. B. The poet asks fishermen not to hurt or injure the whales in the seas. C. The man gathering salt has injured his hands. D. He must take care of his hurt hands. Next stanza. Those who prepare green wars. Wars with gas, wars with fire. Victory with no survivors. Would put on clean clothes. And walk about with their brothers. In the shade, doing nothing. Next stanza. Questions. A. Name the poem and the poet of these lines. B. What sort of wars are mentioned in the above lines? C. What kind of victory will it be? D. How should the lovers of war behave? Answers. A. The name of the poem is Keeping Quiet. The poet is Pablo Neruda. B. Green wars, wars with poisonous gases and wars with the fire are the different kinds of wars. C. It will be a victory where no survivors will be left to celebrate it. Such a victory will be meaningless. D. They should put on clean clothes and walk with their brothers, under the trees leisurely. Hello friends. Good morning, good afternoon or good evening. Welcome back to our channel. 𝗵𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗃. Myself 𝗕𝗫, your friend and Prakash friend. Please subscribe my channel, like it and share it to your maximum friends circle or needy friends through your WhatsApp, Facebook or any social media. We shall learn about poem, The Thing of Beauty written by poet John Keats. Summary and some important questions from this poem. From subject English. For class 12 students. You must learn this poem from your textbook. The theme of the poem. The poem, A Thing of Beauty by John Keats delivers the concept that beauty can be discovered anywhere and at any time. The content of this poem is mostly concentrated on nature, and the unexpected beauty that it brings. The topic of this poem is that beauty may be discovered anywhere and, when appreciated, can be used to lift one's spirits in times of adversity. Any beautiful object is always kept in our minds since it brings us permanent and everlasting happiness. The enjoyment that a beautiful object brings never fades away, but multiplies many times over any time it returns to our mind. A Thing of Beauty summary. A Thing of Beauty is by the famous poet John Keats. Furthermore, the poet says that a beautiful thing can give us extreme happiness and delight. Moreover, a beautiful thing is eternal that never declines or fades. Also, a beautiful thing resembles a shady shelter, which gives us a comfortable sleep comprising of sweet dreams and relaxation. This will ultimately lead to good health. The sight of lovely and beautiful things will live on in our memories for the rest of our lives. Thinking about them makes our bodies and minds healthier, as the ideas give us serenity and mental calm. The author says that individuals have an attachment to earthly things. This attachment is such that it has the resemblance of a flowery wreath. Furthermore, there are traps that keep people connected to materialistic things. This connection with materialistic things distracts humans from eternal happiness. This is because the focus of such materialistic people will be on acquiring more and more resources rather than on attaining eternal happiness. The world has a lot of negativity, hatred, and greed. According to the poet, the cause of gloom and sadness is this negativity. Moreover, one can fade away these negative vibes away with the help of beautiful things that surround us. This is because these beautiful things bring nothing but positivity. Man and nature are strongly intertwined. The beauty of nature is what keeps us connected to this planet. Every morning, we select beautiful fresh flowers and make garlands. They lift our spirits and make us forget about our problems for a while. The poet informs us about some beautiful things that are all around us. Beauty is certainly in the eyes of the one who beholds. This means one can see the beauty in anything. Furthermore, the poet talks about the numerous creations of God, which we should admire. One such creation is the sun, which provides energy. Moreover, the poet also talks about the beauty of the moon and the natural beauty of the trees. There are various animals around that make our world lively. Pretty flowers like daffodils enhance the liveliness and greenery of the world. Moreover, the flowing streams of water provide a refreshment and cooling effect to us in the hot summer season. The forests have plenty of pretty musk rose flowers. Such flowers are a beautiful sight and I feel the delight due to them. All such things certainly are things of beauty. Also, one must not forget the beautiful and inspiring stories of the brave soldiers. These brave soldiers risked and sacrificed their lives in order to protect others. These beautiful things have a resemblance to the fountain of immortality bestowed upon us by God as a gift and a blessing. Such beautiful things are an inspiration for all of us to continue living. They make life worth living. Also, they also help us in maintaining our faith in goodness. Life without these beautiful things would certainly become very hard. Conclusion of a thing of beauty. A thing of beauty summary tells us the value of beautiful things that are all around us and that one must cherish them. They provide us timeless joy and leave an unforgettable imprint on our minds, therefore every beautiful thing is worth preserving. Some important stanzas from this poem. A thing of beauty is a joy forever, its loveliness increases, it will never pass into nothingness, but will keep a bower quiet for us, and asleep. Full of sweet dreams, and health, and quiet breathing. Questions. A. Name the poem and the poet of these lines. B. How is a thing of beauty a joy forever? C. What do you understand by a bower? D. What kind of sleep does it provide? Answers. A. The poem is a thing of beauty. The poet is John Keats. B. A thing of beauty is the source of constant joy. Its beauty goes on increasing. It will never pass into nothingness. C. A bower is a pleasant place in the shade under a tree. It protects persons/animals from the hot rays of the sun. D. It provides us a sound sleep, full of sweet dreams, health and peaceful breathing. Next stanza. Therefore, on every morrow, are we wreathing a flowery band to bind us to the earth. Spite of despondence, of the inhuman dearth of noble natures, of the gloomy days, of all the unhealthy and darkened ways, made for our searching, yes, in spite of all. Questions. A. Name the poem and the poet. B. Why are we despondent? C. What removes the pall from our dark spirits? D. What are we doing every day? Answers. A. The poet is John Keats. The poem is a thing of beauty. B. We possess the evil qualities of malice and disappointment. We suffer from the lack of noble qualities. That is why we feel despondent. C. Some beautiful shapes or a thing of beauty removes the pall of sadness from our hearts or spirits. D. We are weaving a flowery wreath to bind us to the beauties of the earth. Another important stanza. And such too is the grandeur of the dooms we have imagined for the mighty dead. Lovely tales that we have heard or read. An endless fountain of immortal drink, pouring unto us from the heavens' brink. Questions. A. Name the poem and the poet of these lines. B. Explain the grandeur of the dooms. C. What is the thing of beauty mentioned in these lines? D. What image does the poet use in these lines? Do this answers by yourself. Hello friends. Good morning, good afternoon or good evening. Welcome back to our channel. 𝗵𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗃. Myself Potlu, your friend and Prakash friend. Please subscribe my channel, like it and share it to your maximum friends circle or needy friends through your WhatsApp, Facebook or any social media. We shall learn about poem, A Roadside Stand. Summary and some important questions from this poem. From subject English. For class 12 students. You must learn this poem from your textbook. The poem A Roadside Stand, composed by Robert Frost, is about a farmer who puts a little new shed in front of his house. A roadside stand summary. There has been an extension of the shed in front by the occupants of the little old house. Furthermore, this extension is around the edge of the road where the passage of traffic takes place. It seems like the shack owners want to implore the passers-by to purchase something from the shack. These deprived people have a huge desire for the currency. Unfortunately, the traffic goes past ignoring the shack. If by chance the traffic does stop, it would come with a feeling of disappointment. They are very disturbed to see the poor unattractive signboards. There is an offer of wild berries shack for sale in a wooden quarter of a gallon. This place offers a peaceful natural stay for those who can afford it. The poet becomes angry at this attitude of the polished traffic and asks them to move ahead. The poet shows more concern for the sadness of the shed owners than he does for the landscape blemish. He believes that these people have a longing to handle some city money. This money can reduce their suffering as one can see in movies. The political party that enjoys power is the one that deprives them of a happy life. The poet makes mention of the news which points out the relocation of the poor villagers to the vicinity of shops and theaters. There were big promises to ensure good care for them. However, the government authorities became negligent of these promises. Furthermore, the poet is angry at this behavior, and calls them greedy good doers. He calls them beasts of prey who indulge in the exploitation of the poor villagers. The villagers pay a heavy price as they had to lose their land. The civic authorities are successful in fooling these naive villagers. They promise them a better life and a good sleep. However, these civic authorities are the ones who sleep peacefully while making the lives of villagers miserable. Work during the day, and sleep at night was the norm in ancient times. However, there has been a reversal of this norm as the villagers are not able to sleep at night. The poet expresses his distress while explaining the endless wait of shed owners for buyers. There is an ambience of sadness all over the place. Sometimes a car stops, but that is to inquire about the farmer's price. Furthermore, others who stop just want to make use of the backyard. One of the cars stops for a gallon of gas. Moreover, this demonstrates the sense of alienation between urban and rural life. The poet regrets that money is not abundant in the countryside. Furthermore, money can raise spirits while a lack of it dampens it. The villagers have a tendency to express their grievance about a life which has a lack of money. Moreover, the poet becomes very emotional and contemplates their pain. He certainly wants to change their lives in one go, but understands that this will be a futile act. Conclusion of a roadside stand summary. A roadside stand summary shows us the great contrast between the comfortable life of city dwellers and the harshness faced by the impoverished rural people. Hello friends. Good morning, good afternoon or good evening. Welcome back to our channel. 𝗵𝗹𝗀𝗀𝗃. Myself 𝗃𝗀, your friend and Prakash friend. Please subscribe my channel, like it and share it to your maximum friends circle or needy friends through your WhatsApp, Facebook or any social media. We shall learn about poem, Aunt Jennifer's Tigers. Summary and some important questions from this poem. From subject English. For class 12 students. You must learn this poem from your textbook. Aunt Jennifer's Tigers is a 1951 poem by American poet Adrienne Rich. Summary of Aunt Jennifer's Tigers. Aunt Jennifer's Tigers summary. In the poem, a woman expresses her deep feeling through her art. Aunt Jennifer is prey of male-dominant society. Also, there is no one with whom she can share her physical pain. So she makes a picture to describe her deep feelings. Moreover, the narrator defines the tigers, which her aunt made on the panel. Like their motion and movements and their magnificence and fearlessness. Further, there are men, sitting under the tree, but the tigers don't eat. Besides, now Jennifer finds it difficult to take pictures by using ivory needles. Also, after marriage, she became weary of doing household work. Now she can't involve herself in artistic work, instead, she has to do it in leisure time. She is scared of her husband, but her art expresses her desire to move fearlessly and proudly like tigers. In this poem, The poet describes a lady whom she addresses as Aunt Jennifer. The poet also says that she is doing embroidery on a piece of cloth that could be a wall hanging or tablecloth. Moreover, she has made it with beautiful tigers that are running fiercely in the green forest. Further, she describes their beauty in comparison to a topaz. As in the green background of the forest, they appear bright yellow. Company of men does not affect them as they are fearless. At this point, we can sense the contrast of behavior between the ant and tigers. Although tiger made by her is fierce, she is afraid of her husband. According to the poet, tigers are the proud and fearless citizens of the forests. These creatures are very elegant and shiny. In this para, the poet defines Aunt Jennifer's fear of her husband. While doing embroidery, she says that her fingers shake with the fear of her husband, as her husband does not approve her hobby of embroidery. Hence, she quivers while she is embroidering the piece of cloth. Also, it becomes difficult for her to pull the needle up and down. After that, she defines her wedding ring, which her husband gave her on their wedding day. In addition, she sees it as a kind of burden to wear this ring. She feels this because her husband tortures her so much that she sees the wedding ring as a burden instead of a beautiful gift by her husband. Due to the many difficulties she has faced in her married life, that she describes the little wedding ring as a heavy band on her trembling fingers. It also means that the ring is linked with some bad experiences in the form of torture that she has faced. Further, this experience relates to the dominating behavior of her husband. In the last part, the poet says that the aunt's design of tigers can easily sense her desire for freedom and fearlessness. However, the poet says that it is not possible for her to achieve this freedom during her lifetime. Only after her death, she will attain freedom. But the irony here is that even then she will be tied with chains in the form of her husband's wedding ring. This ring is the only proof of the pains that she had faced from her husband. On the contrary, the tigers made by Aunt Jennifer will always portray her desire for living a fearless life by jumping boldly and proudly on a piece of conclusion of Aunt Jennifer's tigers. By Aunt Jennifer's tigers summary, the poet wants to represent the life of a woman who has to live under a constant fear from her husband. Also, she will only get freedom when she will die. Some important stanzas from this poem. Aunt Jennifer's tigers prance across a screen. Bright topaz denizens of a world of green. They do not fear the men beneath the tree. They pace in sleek chivalry certainty. Questions. A. Name the poem and the poet of these lines. B. What are Aunt Jennifer's tigers doing? How do they look like? C. Where do they live? Are they fearless? Give an example. D. How do they pace? Answers. A. The poem is Aunt Jennifer's tigers. The poet is 𝗟𝘀𝗀𝗀𝗃. B. They are jumping across a screen or a wall. They look like shining yellow topaz. C. They live in green forests. They are fearless. They don't fear the men under the tree. D. They run with a well-groomed, honorable confidence. Another stanza. Aunt Jennifer's fingers fluttering through her wool find even the ivory needle hard to pull. The massive weight of Uncle's wedding band sits heavily upon Aunt Jennifer's hand. Questions. A. What were Aunt Jennifer's fingers fluttering through? B. How was she pulling the needle? C. What was lying heavily? Where? D. What was upon Aunt Jennifer's hand? How did it sit there? Answers. A. Aunt Jennifer's fingers were fluttering through her wool. B. She was finding even the ivory needle hard to pull. C. The weight of Uncle's wedding band was lying heavily on her hand. D. There was Uncle's wedding band upon Aunt Jennifer's hand. It sat heavily there. Last stanza from here. When Aunt is dead, her terrified hands will lie still ringed with ordeals she was mastered by. The tigers in the panel that she made will go on prancing, proud and unafraid. Questions. A. Why are Aunt Jennifer's hands called terrified? B. What are they still ringed with? C. Where did she make the tigers? D. What will happen to her tigers after her death? Answers. A. Her hands are called terrified because they passed through very hard and bitter experience of married life. B. They are still ringed with those hard and testing difficulties which possessed her dining her life. C. She made the tigers in the panel. D. Her tigers will go on jumping ahead, proud and unafraid, even after her death.